Hey, this is Kirk.
Hey, and this is Rusty Bird. It's the Kirk and Byrd Show, and we're here with our weekly picnic. And we've got our regulars. We've got Jay Gholson, who is the voice of Freedom Football and Basketball, also runs the Real Prince William County Sports Facebook page. And then we've got Jason Sterling, our one true adult in the room, who also helps call Stonebridge football games. Thank you guys for joining the show.
Thanks,
Thank you for
Rusty.
having me.
So, Kirk, why don't you tell folks where they can find us and then go right on into how good or bad some of us did with our picks last week?
Well, thank you, Rusty. I think it was a rough weekend for everybody last week. But please subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Put stuff out there. It's at the Kirk and Byrd, and check out our 703-540 Nova High School Sports board on Facebook. So getting right back into things. It's really getting into fall now. Last week we had slate of really good games. Big game in Prince William County. I know Jay, Rusty, you guys were integral with that. Heard a lot of things. That was Battlefield at Gainesville, and Battlefield won handily 42-0.
Yeah, basically that was a big crowd. I was impressed. And for some reason, I don't know why Gainesville was talking trash to Battlefield.
They do that though. They talked a lot of trash before the Patriot game.
Yeah. But let me say this though, that lineman from Battlefield, Cam Binkowski, Brandon's little younger brother, younger brother, he is a man among boys. I mean, he has tore up that Patriot offensive line. It was so bad.
You mean Gainesville?
Gainesville, yeah. That the offensive line went off sides like 3 times. They were scared of him. They're like backing up, real quickly. They double teamed him, but he's just a man among boys. And his brother, Brandon, scored 2 touchdowns. He had a great tackle, too, in the backfield. And the quarterback had a great game, Caleb O'Shea. But Battlefield, I mean, they're going to be around for a while. I mean, they're going to be 10-0. Now, they could be a 3 seed, which is not good, but they're good, Battlefield. I was impressed.
Yep. And that's come down. Go ahead.
I would say so we could actually get Freedom Battlefield in the semifinal, regional semifinal. 2 of the better teams in the state. And we're going to have a whole nother episode. We were talking offline about the way these regions are set up, and it's really whack.
Yeah.
We've got 19, 20 teams in the region, and it's crazy.
So everyone picked Battlefield to win that game. And Colin Rapella, our guest, who is our correspondent at Liberty University, formerly a Prince William County student. He's going into sports broadcasting. He picked it right also. And he had the best prediction. He had Battlefield by 3 scores. So next game was Yorktown Langley. And that one was a very close game. Yorktown prevailed 31-28, and we all got that correct except for Colin Rapella. He picked Langley, and Yorktown. You're going to be in this week's game, so make sure you subscribe to us. Moving on, great game down in Richmond. Not a great game for this panel, guys. Huguenot, Elsie Byrd, barn burner. Huguenot won 12-9. Everybody on the panel picked Elsie Byrd.
Yeah.
Some bulletin board material for Huguenot down there. And we got Byrd, Coach Taylor. We got you this week also. So that's upcoming. Lafayette Tab.
Oh, I lost that one.
Yeah. Lafayette 52, Tab 0. I think
they were upset about Warhill.
We got enamored by the Terry Kirby, Chris.
Yeah.
They haven't had 2 players like those 2 guys in a long time. looks like Jason picked Lafayette and Colin Rapella picked Lafayette. I had Tab winning 28-17.
I don't think anybody saw that margin of victory, though, man.
No.
Well, here's the thing. Brentsville and Kettle Run better remember Lafayette because they're a force and they're going to be a team to be reckoned with down in that region in Class 3. So that's a name that is going to come up often, and we'll talk about those regions. The next one went as scheduled. Kettle Run and Sharando. Kettle Run 41-7. We all picked that one correctly. That was a game that I think just about all of us saw Kettle Run winning. Next game, Jason and I were at Stonebridge. So Stonebridge 63, Light Ridge 0. We all picked that. I would say that it looks like Jay Gholson was the closest. No, actually, I predicted 52-0. Jay, you were 51-6. That Stonebridge conversation. That Stonebridge conversation and the playoff picture and the power rankings is getting very interesting. Patrick Henry and William Fleming are in that central region with all those Richmond teams, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. But Stonebridge.
So, just want to make sure. So Stonebridge is now 3-4, right?
Correct. They're 3-4. VHSL will recognize 9 games because the Good Counsel game gets sort of thrown out the window because it's a Maryland private school. So they'll take their number, divide by 9. And with only 9 teams in that region, there's a shot. The first 2 teams will get buys. There's a shot they get to number 2, maybe number 1, and they catch a bye in the first round.
Wow.
So. And ultimately, those tough games could just have made Stonebridge better because outside of those games, their district isn't going to give them a big challenge.
That's correct.
So, at one point, and it's what we said before the season, we didn't think they'd lose all 4, but we talked about these games helping to build them, make them stronger, and that could happen.
Yep.
So that Briar Woods game is going to be, Jason, that's at Stonebridge. That's going to be a big game in Ashburn. Broad Run and Stonebridge don't play anymore, and they've got 3 teams ahead of them. Stonebridge does right now, and they just beat one of them, Light Ridge, in the power rankings. They just beat one of them 63-0. So I think things are shoring up very well for Stonebridge, but I think they need to put a lot together to make it through the state run.
Stonebridge is Class 5.
Mm-hmm.
Who is their competition? Is it going? Now, Byrd is we're seeing
Matoka down there. Byrd, interesting that they're
Patrick Henry,
dimensional running game.
Louisa, Patrick Henry with for state semifinal potentially. The regional game likely it's probably only Briarwood. So you could see them rematch for the regional championship game in the playoffs.
Yep.
State semi. I mean, there's probably about 5 teams, and they're all sort of jockeying for that spot now. They could the winner of that game would likely the right to meet Maury or Kings Fork or somebody. So
I think Riverbend's going to be a factor, and I think that
Massaponax maybe.
Yeah, Massaponax, exactly. This Herndon at McLean, that was a very close game, 31-28, and Mr. Byrd was the only one on the panel. Rusty Byrd predicted Herndon 17-14. Everyone else.
The key is I picked a 3-point difference.
Yeah.
Brother somewhere.
That's right. Yeah. So
wait a minute. Rusty got a game right and nobody else did?
He did.
Exactly. Yeah, in your face.
Kirk, I misheard.
Rusty wasn't in last place this week. We'll get to that. So another game that was a very good game that we decided to pick was Churchland and Granby. Portsmouth team playing a Norfolk team. That one was 21-20. And Granby is a team that is going to be heard from. Looks like Colin and I got that one right. I picked Churchland. That was a very tough game to pick, in all honesty. Next one was another 7-5-7 game. Kickatan and Denby. We wanted to cover that game because we know Coach Super and then Coach Reeman Virginia legend from Warwick High School, Lansdowne High School, taking over at Denby. That one was no surprise. It was Kickingham 59, Denby 20. We all picked that. We all picked it kind of close, guys. So I think the biggest margin was 18-10, but really no surprises there. I just think the fact that Denby's able to field a successful team this year and build, I think they'll get better and better. Then we closed out, and that was Hermitage, Glen Allen. And I decided to take Glen Allen. Hermitage won this game 16-7. And Mr. Gholson called the game right square on. Jay, you got the score right.
Jay, who said 16? Did you think they were going to go for? I guess that's a bunch of field goals.
You get 16 more.
When you're the Godfather, Rusty, you get it right.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the Godfather now of Henrico Sports.
All right. So we'll go from the bottom up. My worst week yet. Kirk was 6-4. So was a tough week for me. Everybody else was 7-3. Just so you know, everybody else was 7-3.
Jay was 4-2. Jay was 6-4 as well.
Hold on. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. I need the basement. Yep. So
Jason, they just can't keep up with us.
It was a tough week for us. So that brings the overall records. Okay, drum roll. Jay Gholson, 66. This is the Jay Gholson ReMax episode for his Player of the Week, which is coming, by the way. Drum roll. Jay is 66-17. Looks like Jason Sterling is 63-20. I am 64-19. Rusty is 52-31. When the election's over, Rusty will get better. So,
Kirk, who'd you say won that Hermitage game? I had Glen Allen actually winning that game, 17.
You know what? I think I got that one wrong. Glen Allen did win that game. Thank you, Jason. Hey, Jason. We don't have that fact checker. You made me look better.
Next time we say it after the game, after this episode is aired.
Right.
Come on. Okay.
Right.
It's so funny because I was
Jason's the guy that would tell on me for cheating.
Yeah.
Jay, I would get a better grade than Jason.
Yep.
He knew I cheated and he would tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. That crossed my mind.
Snitches get stitches.
Jason, when I read that score, I was like, that doesn't sound right. I got that one wrong.
All right. Well, you can redo them all.
Yeah.
Totals.
Yep. So moving to this week, guys, the last couple of weeks, it was kind of hard to find 10 good games. This week, there were up to 15 good games, and I had to whittle it down. So we're getting into, we're already talking about the playoffs. We're talking about the power ratings. We're talking about who's traveling where. So this is when high school football gets very interesting. You got movers and shakers. So let's get on to this week's game, and we're going to open up with two alma maters out of the people on here. Phoebus at Bethel. They play at the same stadium. That's going to be played on Tuesday night. That's a makeup game for that weekend where there was the lightning all over the state. College games were delayed. Freedom, the DeMatha did not happen. I made a few phone calls. Talk about Phoebus, but Phoebus could be playing Bethel. Rusty, why don't you chime in on the Bethel Bruins and what your thoughts are on this game?
Yeah, I mean, we added this, but I'm going to just be honest. Like and Dwight Vick even mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. As his nephew, who's a freshman, gets a little older and really gets him and those other Bruins together over the next 3 years, I think will provide more of a challenge to Phoebus. But for right now, we're not ready. We're just not ready. And I look to see Phoebus to try to score a decent amount of points. I'm predicting it to be about 35-7. But Phoebus is without a doubt the class of the district. Really, the game of the year will be Phoebus Warwick. And but Phoebus has a lot of weapons. They're very well coached, and it's no shade to Bethel. We just not ready.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is very well put, Rusty. Phoebus is on a different level than Bethel. This is going to be, we talked about this, guys. Phoebus has 2 games this week. They're going to be playing a Menchville team on Saturday that upset Hampton last week. So that should be interesting. But Phoebus, if there's one thing about them, they have not found a go-to guy on offense. They had Jordan Bass last year. They missed Jordan Bass more on offense than they do on defense. And that was a comment by my buddy Virgil Richardson. But
that's true. Like, amazing.
Yeah. Phoebus, the thing as Phoebus goes on is their offensive identity. We talked about the region up in Richmond at 4 with, King George is at Eastern View this year, or this week. We're going to be talking about that game, but also Varina, Dinwiddie, Cortland, those great teams. Phoebus is going to have to figure out, okay, we may not have a go-to guy, but they've settled on a quarterback, and can their offense rise to the level for them to win a 3rd straight title? So, Jason, I think you've got Phoebus, right?
Yeah. Tuesday night games are weird. Nothing like Tuesday Night Lights, right? But I always think of like what is the Mid-American Conference, like Bowling Green, Miami of Ohio playing on Tuesday. I tell you, if anybody from Phoebus or Bethel end up going to college, they're playing ball, they'll be used to it now. Bethel took a shutout this past Saturday against Heritage, which wasn't great. That puts their record at 4-3. Phoebus has given up 8 points all year, guys. 8 points total. Stout defense. We've come to expect that from the Phantoms. I look at Heritage as a common opponent. The scores were extremely different in those games where both of them played them. Give me Phoebus here, 27-0.
All right. Jay Gholson.
Ooh, like Rusty said, Bethel is probably about a year away, maybe 2 years. So I'm going to say Phoebus 31, Bethel 6.
Okay. All right. So I've got the 54. I tell you guys, they're just, I don't know what it is now, but teams are running, 40, 50 points every week. So let's move on. Another really good game in Northern Virginia. Lake Braddock at West Springfield. Jason, you're going to tell us about that. Before you go, we'll say this. We haven't talked about West Springfield a lot. Jason.
No, we haven't. They're 6-1.
That's right.
So maybe we probably should have found a game earlier in the season for them. But Braddock's also 6-1, Kirk. These 2 schools right now in the PowerPoints, they're 1 and 3 respectively. So Braddock's sitting in 1 in their region. West Springfield is coming in at 3, and that's Region 6C.
Right.
So there's not much separation right now in those PowerPoints between these 2. And frankly, I don't think there's a lot of separation on the football field between these guys. I got 2 really good football teams here, 2 well-coached football teams. I think Braddock's got a few more horses in the stables that are gonna just probably make it a little more difficult for West Springfield. I'll take the guys from Burke over the guys from Springfield. Give me Lake Braddock 20, West Springfield 13.
Okay. Jay Gholson. You sold any houses over there, Jay?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Now, Lake Braddock, one thing about Lake Braddock that concerns me is their first half against Colgan.
Lake Braddock, he keeps bringing that up, by the way.
I know.
That was game 1. That was a long time ago.
That was a long
time. That's true.
But I agree. No, that is always in the back of my mind. I'm not doubting. Yes.
But Lake Braddock, being a number 1 seed, you want to stay with number 1 seed. So I think Lake Braddock will win this game. I'm saying Lake Braddock 21, West Springfield 13.
Okay. Rusty?
Yeah, this West Springfield team is actually pretty decent. I am predicting Lake Braddock because my wife is a proud graduate, and my boy Mike Alexander, Sean Link, really good friends of mine, came out of there in '86. But I think I think Lake Braddock is going to win legitimately, but I would not be surprised if West Springfield, keeps it close or even wins the game. I mean, that's a neighborhood rivalry too. They're not far from each other.
Right down the road. Yep.
And so, and West Springfield is pretty decent. So, but I'm going to go with my Bruins.
I'm taking Lake Braddock. I think Lake Braddock is impressive. We talked to Coach Doherty. basically said they're in a rebuilding year, and I've been impressed with them so far. I like Lake Braddock, 26-10. It is great seeing those right down the road from each other rivalries happening at this point in the season. A big game. Two teams.
Let me say, hold on. Before
week.
we didn't say this though, but hold on. West Springfield only has one loss, and it's to South County by 7.
And they've been good for 2 or 3 years, Rusty.
Yeah. So again, I think Lake Braddock will win, but just so our audience knows, West Springfield is a quality team.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
And brothers. So
yep.
Yeah, we got to get some West Springfield. I'm going to reach out to that coach.
It'll be an upset, but it's a mild upset if they win that game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a crazy upset by any means.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mountain View at Patriot, all kinds of PowerPoint. Who's where, repercussions here. Mountain View, I believe, sits atop the power rankings for that other Class 6 region. Jay,
they're in our region. We're in the same region, Class 6B.
Right.
They're in
and
our
Mountain View
yeah.
just had, I believe, Freedom. Jay, tell us about this game. Rusty, I want you to chime in too.
Yep.
Well, like I said, if you're a Battlefield or a Freedom fan, then you want Patriot to win this game. Now, Mountain View, they're undefeated. They have everything. Eric Mensah is going to Ohio State. They got athletes. Patriot, they have Jackson McCarter. If you're Mountain View, this is what they're going to do. This is what I was told off the record. They're going to put like an 8-man front and challenge Jackson McCarter and make Tyler Knudsen throw the football. That's their game plan going into this game. And I think with Eric Mensah, who's like, All-American basically, there's too many athletes. So I'm going to say Mountain View. I hate to say this. I want Patriot to win, for freedom. So I'm being selfish. But I'm going to say Mountain View 26, Patriot 12.
All right. Jason?
Yeah, I've seen Mountain View a couple times the last few years because they've been in that regional final game against Stonebridge when they were down in Class 5. So Sorrentino's got these guys.
I couldn't believe how bad they played last year. But go ahead, Jason. I'm sorry.
They were better.
Surprised.
They were better, Rusty, than what they put on the field. Both of those games, both were shutouts. So they've had that run into the Ashburn, unfortunately. So they jumped to Class 6, and what's their reward? They get put in a region with Patriot, Battlefield, and of course Freedom. So road does not get any easier, believe me. Patriot slots into this game. I think they're 5-2 guys, right?
Yes.
I agree with Gholson, though. I just don't think they have enough strength up front to be able to pull this thing out. Eric Mensah is a dude.
Woo!
He will play. Patriot will keep this game close, and I think they can. Mountain View pulls it out, in my opinion. I've got them 24-21.
Oh,
yep. Close one here, man.
Okay.
All right. Rusty.
Let me have one more thing. Though, about Mountain View. I will say this, though. They do not travel well late in the season. I don't know what it is. Stonebridge last year was like, 50-0, I think, or whatever it was. So late in the year, Mountain View has laid some eggs. But go ahead, Rusty. I'm sorry.
Should we take some back roads, too, for that bus ride? For real.
Long bus ride, too.
I tell you, if Chris Jones hadn't moved into Fairfax, this would be a completely different team. We'd be putting them up there as a true state title contender. Maybe they can do it. I'm not sure. I just don't think they have enough outside of Mensah. So we'll see.
I think it's easy to pick Mountain View because they've played a pretty tough schedule and they've beaten some decent. I mean, they blew out Forest Park, who probably now won't make the playoffs, but they blew out Woodgrove. They blew out Centerville, a team we thought would be much better this year. They beat Massaponax. It was close, but they beat Riverbend. So they beat Colonial Forge. Like, they've played a much tougher schedule than Patriot. That being said, Charlie, listen to this, Charlie, because I think you got us kind of confused the last time. I didn't pick against Patriot. I didn't pick Patriot for the public. I did pick them, but I'm saying this now. I'm not calling the Patriot game against Mountain View. I am picking Patriot to beat Mountain View.
Oh,
okay.
Score?
Oh, the score will be it'll still be close. It'll be 28-24. But I believe that Patriot team is a really good team. And not to I think Mountain View this will be a real test for them, but Patriots not backing down to anybody. And I think but let me say this. I really like how Patriot, other than the Gainesville game, they have not really worn out their workhorse in Jackson McCarter. Like, he didn't carry the ball but 18 times last week, and they didn't need him to carry it a lot. So hopefully, if they need him to tote the rock a lot, he should be pretty fresh.
Rusty, they are a one-dimensional team.
Okay, but if that one dimension is that great, it may not matter.
Okay, over Eric Mensah. You're taking okay.
He's on one side of the ball. Okay, he's one side of the ball.
All right, I'll be fast, Coach Finnerty. Give you guys down in Nokesville some bulletin board material. I've got Mountain View coming to your place, winning 38-14. So Patriot football, I got you losing by 24. Let me have it if I'm wrong, but I'm not.
I got your back, Prince William County.
Yep. Rusty didn't have to walk around Stafford County much. All right. So Manchester at LC Byrd, a classic rivalry. Two teams that are fairly close to each other down there in Richmond. I got the opportunity to speak to Danny Lewis of Virginia Preps. Pretty much what we all think. Manchester just has too many weapons. LC Byrd is primarily a run team. They run it with Sir Paul Cheeks, Rashad Lewis. So they're going to be kind of one-dimensional, and they don't pass very much. And then Manchester is a team that a lot of people, we are talking about Highland Springs a lot. We're talking about Patriot a lot. I tell you, Manchester is a team that's right there. They've got a lot of weapons. Landon Abernathy at quarterback. He's got unbelievable wide receivers. There's they've got a West Virginia Mekhi Byerson. Everybody's heard of him as a recruit. He's probably going to play on the defensive side of the ball, and Kyrie Richardson. So unbelievable weapons at wide receiver. I just think that it's just too much firepower on this one, guys. I like Manchester winning this one 31-7. Jason Sterling.
Kirk, you nailed it. Bird's your classic ground and pound football team. Yep. I think that Rashard Lewis Jr., I want to say he's probably averaging like $135, $140 on the ground. So with Byrd, when they step on the field, what they want to do. Think about Manchester. That Tom Hall's team, they are one touchdown against Highland Springs away from being undefeated right now in Class 6. And they would be very high in that elevated conversation about a title contender. I still think they have a chance. In their win last week against Clover Hill, 5 different Lancers scored touchdowns in that game. So they, like you said, they spread the ball around a lot. I think that's very healthy for a team. I still think they're a contender, and I totally agree. I think Bird's too one-dimensional here. I think in these upper classes, guys, and you were just talking about in the last game, 4, 5, and 6, I think you've got to have the ability to both run and pass to a pretty good extent to be able to make a deep run. So I give the edge in this one to Manchester. I've got them winning 29-17.
All right, Mr. Gholson.
Well, Manchester has to keep winning because I think you have Thomasville number 1, Highland Springs number 2, and Manchester number 3. So this is really a must game for them. So they'll take it pretty seriously. So I'm going to say Manchester 41, LC Byrd 14.
Okay. I like that. Rusty.
As much as I hate to go against my last name, I think Manchester's just going to have a little too much for them because they put up over 40 points a game. And the problem will be if Manchester gets up too early on them, it's harder for Byrd to score quickly. Yeah. So I like Manchester 30-17.
All right. Manchester 31-7 over Byrd, if I didn't already say so. A really good game down at Hampton Roads. Oscar Smith at Kings Fork. Kings Fork team that keeps winning. They've had a couple overtime wins. Jason, give us a preview of this one. This is one we know a lot about Oscar Smith, not as much about Kings Fork.
Yeah, so guys, remember 2 very close double overtime wins for Kings Fork this year.
Yep.
And since those double overtime wins, they have been putting up basketball type numbers in their last couple of games. So they're 7-0, deep playoff run in their sights, guys. They get Oscar Smith coming into Suffolk here. Smith is coming off 3 straight wins to get their record to 5-2. So say what you want about Oscar Smith being down. I think Oscar Smith still has a pretty good pedigree that they're building on from the last couple of decades. I like them. I think they're rounding into form at the right time. But Kings Fork is a really good team, and I think that Smith will hang with them for a while. I just think Kings Fork has a little too much firepower for them this year. I got Kings Fork doubling them up from a scoring standpoint, 40-20.
Ooh.
All right.
Wow.
They love you at Oscar Smith, Jay Gholson.
Yeah.
I really like Oscar Smith's quarterback. He's a freshman. He's smart. And I just can't see them losing 3 games in the regular season. And the fans there travel well. I'm gonna say Oscar Smith 19, Kings Fork 10.
10? Did you say 10?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Rusty Byrd?
Okay, so I think Oscar Smith, this is just going to be a year where they're going to have to just rebuild. I believe that they will keep it close, but I think Kings Fork is really rolling, has the confidence, and this may be a little too overwhelming for that freshman. And I like Kings Fork to win 17-14.
Okay. I tend to agree with you, Rusty. I like Kings Fork 27-17 over Oscar Smith. Lonnie Andrews, freshman quarterback, he's already on radar. I think with him, I don't know what offers he has, but I think once the season's over and he gets into next season, he's going to be a highly recruited player. And I'd say it's a little bit of an upset alert, but I like Kings Fork because of all those close games. Another good game up here in Northern Virginia. 2 teams that are not far apart, Washington Liberty at McLean. Jason, tell us about that one. McLean lost a close one to Yorktown last week, and how's that going to factor in, Jason?
Yeah, I got another classic matchup here where you can honestly, guys, make a case for either team to win this game. They put together some pretty good records so far. The combined record of 12-2, both of them coming in at 6-1. This is a big game, guys, for playoff seeding because they're so close in with their records and their points right now.
Are they in the same region?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Yep. I think the winner of this game can get a home playoff game, maybe 2 home playoff games, which will be big. Give me the Generals from Washington and Liberty in a razor tight game here. I've got them winning this one 21-20 over McLean. 2 straight losses, unfortunately, for McLean now.
Okay. Jay Gholson, the median price in McLean is 1.4 million. I think 3% that gets you 52,000. That's just the median, which is the one straight in the middle. I bet the average is higher. Who you liking this, Jay?
But while he's talking, look up the average in Arlington.
Oh, that's going to be up there too. I will.
If I have to bet between the Arlington kid and the McLean kid, the same record, I have to go with WNL. I'm going to say WNL 20, McLean 7.
Okay. Rusty?
Washington and Liberty, I think that's a really good program. I've seen their improvement the last couple of years. Colgan scrimmaged them last year, and I saw some real talent there. But ultimately, the reason I'm going to pick Washington and Liberty is because I had 2 cousins that played football there and then went on to play college football. So that makes it very clear. 34-14 Washington and Liberty.
Rusty, when you have a family reunion, can you even get parking?
It is. We do have big reunions. Yeah, I have on my mom's side, it's the Johnson Lane Purdy reunion, and it's been going on. It had gone consecutively for 100 years into 2012.
Oh,
So
wow.
we went 108 years without missing a year until COVID hit, and then we just got it back started.
Yeah,
But we do have
that's cool.
yes. Oh, we have about 300 people that come from all over every year.
All right.
And they all play football, Jason.
I bet they did, man.
You'd be surprised how many people he's related to for real. So
That's one heck of a flag game you're holding, man. I'll tell you.
Oh, hold on, dog. We played a flag for years. I brought the equipment. And so it was because a large section of my family's from New Jersey. So it was the Virginia Purdy's against the New Jersey Purdy's. And it was a battle every year until my cousin, who's he's a commander of a fire whatever station and region in Montclair, New Jersey. His Achilles popped, and we haven't played since.
Yeah,
it's hard to put out fires or tell people to put out fires without your Achilles. But we won. We actually had a little plaque that would go back and forth each year of who won. It's a big game.
Nice.
I like the Highlanders at home. It's a spirited crowd. McLean 34, Washington Liberty 7. All right. Next game, another Richmond game. Highland Springs at Hermitage.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and take that one. Once again, talk to Danny Lewis, Virginia Preps earlier tonight. Highland Springs, too much firepower. Hermitage is a good, solid team down in 5. They've had some impressive wins this year. We had a lot of people at Oscar Smith see them play. But Hermitage just has, Highland Springs just has too many weapons. The only thing I'm going to point out is that we haven't talked about Highland Springs a lot. They've had a couple of key injuries. They've got Noah Jenkins, who's going to Virginia Tech, and Elijah Williams, which was their premier running back, they've both been injured. And it's let another Eric Byrd has blossomed. He's a sophomore running back, but Highland Springs is one of those teams that when they get healthy again, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder because everybody's talking about Freedom Woodbridge, Class 6. I still stand by Freedom winning the Class 6 title, but don't count for 1 minute. Don't count out Highland Springs. So this is one I think that's pretty predictable. I like Highland Springs taking this one 42-10. Jason.
Yeah.
Your guy, Eric Byrd, I think just got his first offer here, Kirk, from ECU this weekend. So he'll pick up a lot.
He's doing good up here, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, I'm with you, man. I think we parked Highland Springs away, and we've anointed a few other teams as the best in the state. They took a 9-point loss to Maury, which we all knew about that game. Guys, if they won that game, this potential semifinal matchup between Freedom and Highland Springs, we'd be salivating right now over that game. I mean, it's still going to be a phenomenal game. I think if both of them get there, too early to talk about that, but that still could be one of the best games we've seen in the state of Virginia in decades, potentially. So I think it's got that potential. I don't think Coach Johnson and Highland Springs will lay down for anyone. I think they're after that Maury loss, they're on a mission here. Now Hermitage, though, 4 of their 10 games that they play in the regular season this year. Let me give you these 4 teams: Verina, Glen Allen, Oscar Smith, and Highland Springs. So they're pretty battle tested too. Yeah, and they almost beat that game. We were just talking about Glen Allen. They almost beat them last week. They missed a field goal at the end of that game that would have won it. So they'll be battle tested come Class 5 playoff time. But I think the talent, the scheme, the coaching at Highland Springs is some of the best in the state. Let me take Highland Springs fairly comfortably here. I've got them winning 35-14.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Jay Gholson.
Ooh, Highland Springs right now is second seed, so they really have to keep winning because to keep hopefully number 1 seed if Common still loses. So I'm gonna take Highland Springs on this one. I'm gonna say it's gonna be not even close. I'm gonna say Highland Springs 42, Hermitage 9.
Okay. Rusty?
I like it to be a little closer than that, but I do think Highland Springs will win, and I'll steal Jay's 42, but I'm going to let Hermitage get 27. So it'll be 42-27. Springers.
All right. Hermitage. Everybody's picking against you. Two teams. The next game is King George at Eastern View. King George, undefeated, very highly ranked. They're all in the same region. King George has two unbelievable wide receivers. These are two undefeated teams meeting in that's Culpeper, right? Jason, you're gonna do the review. Isn't that Culpeper, right? Culpeper
Yes, it's
County.
Culpeper,
I think that's
correct.
also Culpeper, yeah. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, you nailed it. That prolific passing attack for King George, I think, is what we all think about when we talk about King George. I would say arguably with Freedom, probably the best set of overall wideouts in the state, in my opinion. King George and Freedom. So very tall, athletic, high point the ball type of kids. It's a difficult cover for anybody out there. And if you guys recall, think about last year. They took Dinwiddie, who were your Class 4 champs, to overtime in a back and forth high scoring thriller. Yep. That game had flipped, one play, one score. We always talk about that. You might probably be talking about King George as your defending Class 4 champion here.
Yep.
Which would, scenarios would be all different in our heads and things like that. Now, looking over at the Cyclones of Eastern View, these guys come in with an undefeated record at 7-0. They've got a stud out there, guys. You may have not heard his name, or some of your viewers may have not. Brett Clatterball. He's a class of 25 guy. He's a 4-star linebacker. He's a wrecking ball. He's right now, as a junior, he's 6'2", 2.25. I count at least 15 Power 5 offers already at this point on his book. And these are big schools. You're talking Georgia, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State. Keep going down the list.
Clemson.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see this kid, your first reaction is, well, that's a football player. So my trepidation with Eastern View, though, is their strength of schedule. They struggle with point guys this year. They failed to put away a young and inexperienced North Stafford team. I think this kid Clatterball, he'll get his numbers and his highlights, but King George has way too much firepower for these guys. I like King George pretty big, 41-15. But if you get a chance, check out Clatterball. He's a good watch. So
good point. Good points. Very good.
Gholson.
Yeah, I agree about the wide receivers for King George. They're up there with Freedom. And Eastern View, their schedule has been pretty light. So I'm going to say King George 32, Eastern View 12.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick King George. I think the game will be a little closer. I have King George winning 35-20. But what I will say is this. King George will win this matchup. Now, Eastern View, they're Class 4, right? They're in the same region.
Yep.
But King George, I just wanted to, our friend and one of my best friends growing up, J.C. Hall, who's the head coach at Cortland, they're 5-2. And King George proved to be a little, human in their game. And they only beat Cortland, that was their closest game, 21-14. Now, Cortland plays a style of football where they can run and keep the clock moving and everything, but it shows that they have some vulnerability, and Eastern View puts up actually more points than only two. I think the difference is like maybe once. I think King George maybe averages 43 points a game, and Eastern View about 45, 46. So they can put up points. But I do, again, I like King George to win the game, but I would not be surprised if Eastern View wins, but also they could lose, but beat them in the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah. That's the best region in 4. And Phoebus better look out. I think that's a state semifinal matchup. I like King George 17-16. This was going to be a close one. So I like King George winning that one.
That region is a hornet's nest, man.
That's unbelievable. Like Rusty said, Cortland's really good.
Is Louisa in that region too?
Louisa County's in it.
No, Louisa's in 5.
Oh,
They're,
Louisa's in 5.
Oh,
My bad.
they moved up.
Yep. They moved up. Yep.
Yep. Another game, 2 undefeateds. South Lakes at Madison. We have not talked about South Lakes enough. And I think that's a game I'm probably going to go to. This is a great matchup, guys. We're going to find out if South Lakes is for real. So it's at Madison. We know all about Madison. I think that for South Lakes, this is going to be a great barometer of where they are. These 2 are in the same region, and they sit atop the power rankings.
They're in the same district too, right? South Lakes moved into their district.
Yeah, they might be. I just know the old Concord district. They weren't.
Yeah, back in the right. I think when things kind of switched up and South Lakes moved up, I think they're in the same district. I'll look it up, but yeah.
But this could be a good game. I love the atmosphere at James Madison. Bus ride is totally back roads. Probably going to be taking Hunter Mill, Lawyers, Windy Road.
123.
Yeah, they're right off of 123. But when I went to that game, I went the way that you would go from Reston. So, but I just think Madison is the team to beat here, and we're going to find out a lot about South Lakes, which is a team we have not talked about enough, and we will change that. But I like Madison to win this one. I'm going to go 27-7. Jason.
Yeah, huge matchup here, guys. South Lakes, let me give a little on them first. They've steamrolled their 7 opponents this year.
Yep.
Margin of victory, I think, is around 42, if I did the math right. Dynamic tailback, kid by the name of Isaac Copeland. Their quarterback, Nick Harris, I think he's thrown 23 touchdowns in the 7 games. They've got a ton of experience on both sides of the ball. Very senior-laden team, which I think is really helping them out this year. But, guys, it's no secret. Madison has played a much tougher schedule. They've got wins on their resume. Look at this on their resume: Stonebridge, South County, Westfield. That's pretty good. That's nothing to bark at there. That's a phenomenal stretch of wins that they've got. Here's my thing: I simply trust Coach Counts and Madison in these types of games. South Lakes will put up a good fight in Vienna, but Madison pulls this one out 34-28.
Okay. Jay Gholson. Those are 2 great communities to sell houses in.
Not so fast, Jason.
Listen, here he comes.
Guys, South Lakes is loaded. They have athletes. Okay.
Yeah.
Madison, Stonebridge, South County, they're okay, but South County, they're coming to Vienna, they're going to punch them in the face. I'm saying South Lakes 27, Madison 10. You always bet the Reston kid over the Vienna kid.
Okay. Is it a basketball game?
Reston kids.
We hear you. All right.
Okay.
Grant Hill. Yep.
Yeah, Grant Hill. There's a long list of Reston kids that are athletes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Anna.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll pick right up on from there. And I would like to pick South Lakes. And does anybody know why?
Why?
They're the Seahawks. It's a bird. All right. Y'all are slipping. But I think that Madison just keeps finding ways to win, and South Lakes has put up a lot of points this year. They averaging almost 50 points a game, whereas Madison's at 30 points a game. So something's got to give. But this is one of my also, I went to a coaching clinic one time with the South Lakes coaches, and they were just breaking down how they run their offense and how they do things, and I was very impressed. I think that this is another one of those, you win now, but you don't know later. So I pick South Lakes pick Madison to win 28-14. But again, come playoff time, I would not be surprised if South Lakes won.
All right.
Bad picks.
Jay, Vienna's $1 million average house sale, and I think Reston's 570. That's a little off though, because Reston has a ton of townhouses and condos, which count as a house. So those flow into each other too. That's a beautiful part of Fairfax County. Next game, Warwick at Hampton. Two old school teams that go back a long way. This is going to be interesting. Hampton's not what it used to be. Rusty, talk to us about this one.
So Warwick is undefeated, and they are crushing everybody. Hampton is on the comeback, though. They're playing some pretty good football against Phoebus. I thought Phoebus would try to really want to blow them out, but they after last year, but they really couldn't. I think Hampton is working their way back, but I think Warwick will just have way too much for them. But yeah, I have Warwick winning 48-21. But you know, they've put up a lot of points this year, but I think the main reason, of course, is my frat brother is the head coach of Warwick, and that's really why they're going to win.
Hey, I told you guys earlier that Phoebus had given up 8 points all year. You guys want to take a guess of what team's given up less on the season than 8 points?
Warwick.
Yeah, 7 points in their games is what they've given up. And guys, that was the opening play of the opening game against Grassfield. Grassfield returned the kickoff for a touchdown. It's been lights out ever since that happened. So to me, they're a team where the sum is greater than the individual parts, maybe with the exception of Messiah Delhomme, right? 31 consecutive scoreless quarters that they're going taking in against what I would consider the resurgent Hampton Crabbers at 5-3. I think in no doubt in due time, Hampton's going to be back at the rate we expect them to be from a winning standpoint. I just don't think it's going to happen this Friday. I do think Hampton scores, so I think it'll happen in the fourth quarter. So I think Warwick takes that scoreless streak to 34 quarters before giving up a late touchdown, and they finish things off here. I've got Warwick 45-7, pretty big in this one.
Okay, Jay Gholson.
Here are the facts. Ronald Curry is not walking through that locker room.
It's true.
He might walk through the locker room, but he ain't dressing.
He played well Tyrod Taylor played well last night, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Now, Dwight Vick is not walking through that locker room and playing. So I'm going to say Warwick 35, Hampton 6.
Okay. And Rusty, you made your pick. I'll just say this. The Hampton Newport News thing is Hampton's always better in football. Newport News is better in basketball. I believe Warwick is second oldest high school behind Newport News High School, which is no longer open. There's a lot of tradition there. You got Henry Jordan came out of there, Michael Vick, Ray Savage, Antoine Bethea, Richard. There's a lot of pride around Warwick. I think they're going to want to make a statement. Hampton lost to Menchville last week. That was a significant upset.
That was a surprise, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Warwick is on a roll. Messiah Delhomme, he's got Florida State, Alabama offers among all, a lot of other offers. And I've just heard unbelievable things. We'd love to have him on the show. I'm going to take Warwick 56-0. I like Warwick over Hampton 56-0. It's going to be a statement for Newport News. So that's what I like. So one
thing I want to point out though is Warwick, they're 8-0. They should win this game, go to 9-0. But then their last game is against Phoebus, and I don't know. Phoebus is going to be over these next 2 weeks. After this, they're going to be playing right. So they're going to play 4 games in 3 weeks. And their last game is Phoebus. It will be Phoebus Warwick. That I don't know how much that could hurt Phoebus, and especially going into the playoffs, because they're going to want to win that game, much like when they played Oscar Smith in the last game 2 years ago. So just something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are getting ready for Jay Gholson to announce his Jay Gholson ReMax Player of the Week. Jay Gholson, take it over. Make sure you give everybody your phone number, Jay.
Oh, my phone number first. Okay. That's more important. 703-517-8640. This week was a tough one. A lot of good players. But at the Battlefield game, one guy stood out that I watched. That was a quarterback, Caleb Moshe. So he's my pick this week. He has touchdown passes. He was running. He had a great command of the offense. He's just, basically, in my opinion, this week's player of the week.
I just want to say one thing about Battlefield. I think we just take them for granted. Do you know they haven't lost a regular season game in
last year, 2022, and 2021, they were undefeated during the regular season.
Right.
Weren't they the last team to beat Freedom?
Come on.
Yeah, they were. Absolutely. Yep.
I know it's been a couple years, but that's sort of that's the line in the sand for Freedom.
And here's the scary thing about this, about what you just said. That the Battlefield team that beat Freedom. On that team of 2021 till today, they still have 4 players on the Battlefield that played that game 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The Kowski brothers, you have Sage Davis, you have the 2-year All-State guy and Boggs, Brandon Boggs. So they're not afraid of Freedom because they played them, they beat them, those 4 players. So yeah. Well, also too for Greg Hatfield, I give him credit to go from Eastern View to a good program in Battlefield, not mess things up, keep things the way they're going, and go, like you said, undefeated in the regular season. That's pretty commendable for him to do that.
They're good. I think I'll be in Vienna this weekend. Jay, where's Freedom? Are they home?
Playing at home, the Route 1 Rumble against Potomac.
Potomac.
Yeah, represent.
All right.
Yeah.
Jason Stonebridge has who they have at Independence. Okay.
Yeah. Should pick up a win.
Roll. They should roll. Rusty, how about you? Where are you gonna be?
I think if I go to a Prince William game, it would definitely be Patriot. But I want to go to a Fairfax County game. I haven't, so I may end up trying to go see Lake Braddock. Lake Braddock. It's actually closer. Yeah, Lake Braddock and West Springfield. I'm really intrigued by that matchup.
We will do another episode, a separate episode on the power rankings and the alignments. So much has moved around, we basically can't keep up with it. So looking forward to that, and we'll have a lot more clarity again next week, guys. All right.
Yep.
All right. Well, look, thank you again, guys, for joining us. This is always a lot of fun. So let's see how we do without a guest picker to just throw us off. That's what I think has been messing me up all these weeks, But anyway, yeah. So for Jay Gholson, my man Jason Sterling, and my co-host Kirk Hilliard, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show with our weekly pick segment. We are out.